Okay, welcome to the Town of Dayton Solid Waste Advisory Committee at 979 Sunset Avenue, Dayton, Mass. 02715. This is our regular meeting, Thursday, October 12th, 2023 at 4:00 p.m. This meeting is being recorded. The listening to those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. We really don't need to call everyone to the if everybody doesn't mind standing.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty for all.
Thank you, guys. Next on the list is old business. Legal business.
But we don't, no.
Those who want to do business. Finding the Board of Health office.
Jim, do you want to take that?
Sure. Yeah, we just wanted everyone to know who may not be aware. We've all met Mrs. Gurnard, who happens to be a very good baker as well. So, Mrs. Gurnard, Heather, is our health agent. She has obviously a background in food from Johnson and Wales, I believe. And we are working as a health department to support her in the other certification that she needs in order to be a well-rounded health agent. Kate, I think you've completed 6 or 7? Yeah. 8 certifications, which are beyond the number of certifications that we've asked her to meet with certain benchmarks and thresholds. So once you finish your CPO training with the certified food operator training in November, she will have obtained all her certifications with the exception of Title V. So Title V will probably be the most time consuming, and that may take a year or so to get. But I'm very happy with the progress. I appreciate it, and looking forward to creating a well-rounded health department.
We're nothing but great things
Right.
about you and the direction of the. And that's because of
Right.
the two of you and a few others,
Right.
but it's
Thank you.
going excellent.
Thank you. The other side of that is last night's selectmen's vote solidified myself as the director. So I will be taking care of the management of the health department. I'll still work under the direction of the Board of Health, but I will take care of the day-to-day operations, budgetary concerns, solid waste deficiencies. So there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. So I'm looking forward to the years ahead, and I appreciate everyone here for putting the time in to try to help us figure all this out.
You're still keeping your old job?
Yes. Yeah, they never take anything away.
That's work.
Do more with less, is that the way it works?
Sorry.
Do more with less?
No, I'm happy. Mr. Ferry, we can't leave Mr. Ferry out. He's assumed transfer station responsibilities, which is huge. That's a huge burden off the health department. So I don't know that I would be able to do everything needed to move the department forward if you hadn't done that. So I appreciate that as well.
Great. Okay, anybody have any questions that you don't want to ask? Well, let's move to the transfer station update, including the point of sale system. Tom, is this yours?
But you had an update?
No, I didn't have an update. I assumed you would, based on the activation of point of sale and new employee and so forth.
Yeah, so the new employees learning about the human creature. They try to get away with a lot of things. So he's doing very well and being a little bit more attuned to that job. It's working well. He can very fluid with the job also. As far as the point of sale system, we're still tweaking it a little bit more. Fortunately, I have an employee in our department, Jeff Pimento. He's actually went to college for this type of stuff on creating programs and whatnot. And we learned after we went on board with Unipay, they were creative on how to make the purchases. So like if you went in with multiple items on your truck, each item would be charged the convenience fee of the credit card.
Oh, wow.
And they claim there's no way around that. Well, for the reporting and the printout that we have.
Yeah.
But you could do a checkout with multiple items and check out with a check. The e-check can only be charged 50 cents convenience fee for the whole
Okay.
thing.
Yeah.
So there is a way,
Sure.
but they don't want to do it through the credit card or they can't do it. So Jeff, he happened to have a QuickBooks, the old QuickBooks, the one he owns.
Yeah.
It's slightly outdated, but still functioning. Because now you, with QuickBooks, for example, not to pick on QuickBooks, but they want you to buy the monthly service fee to maintain it. So, but he happens to own one, the old school one. So I'd like to continue and actually tomorrow switch over to using the QuickBook programs. We'll import for reporting services so we can pull down what we want.
Yeah.
With that, it's a slightly two-step thing, but what's tiring with that is when we put people in once, use the sticker number as identification. So now the next time they come in, you just put the number only and off you go. And then the checkout, I believe all the town hall is gonna need is the sticker number and the dollar value
Okay.
for their checks and balances, but we can always pull down a printout for whatever direction that you need to go.
Right.
And we can always tweak it because it'll be in-house on the QuickBooks. Jeff would rather see the Wi-Fi installed at the transfer station. And the unit doesn't have to be mobile, it can be just in the shed. But with the Wi-Fi, you can walk out with the device if needed, but they haven't been walking around with the device.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been doing everything inside. It's kind of a mixed bag with these people that would rather pay convenience fee for each item.
Wow. Just to have it on the credit card?
Just to have it on credit card. So they're excited about the use of electronics. That tells you something. And we hear a little bit of static. People don't want to give up the check.
Sure.
But I have a feeling it's going to be fully electronic by default.
Is it because of their businesses possibly, or?
Well, we don't want businesses.
Well, I know, but
Yeah.
if somebody's coming with something that you need a receipt, individual receipts for, would that be the reason why they don't want to give it up?
You mean swiping a card? No, they just want to swipe the card and move on.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't care what the price is.
No,
Yeah,
Just people like us.
as long as they don't have to,
just some pay the
if they don't have to write out a check, they're happy.
Yeah,
But you always have the few. They don't want to give it up, so
okay.
especially if they know it's more work on our part, they want to stay with the check.
I have a couple of questions, if
Sure.
I may. So, yeah, and thankfully we have Jeff, because Jeff is phenomenal with just moving computers and whatnot. He's great. But I do have a question. Is Unipay still going to interface with the QuickBooks program that you are
Yes.
going to implement?
Yes,
Okay,
yep, because we actually can do that now. We have been on a few days. So we run it through, so there's only one convenience fee per customer. Yes, because that really aggravated me.
Sure.
I mean, someone's buying a sticker for $15, technically they're paying almost $20,
Right,
and they're trying to get rid of one item,
yeah,
and so they're getting zapped twice.
sure.
so we appreciate Jeff, just like others in town who do whatever they can to help the town. But I'm not sure that we should be using QuickBooks if we indeed stay with QuickBooks. Where it's a static, outdated item where that can't be updated. I think maybe we should look about getting into a newer QuickBooks setup if this works. And just pay whatever the operational fee is for QuickBooks to keep it current.
You could explore that when the time comes too.
I want to make sure you like it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not only that is there's no fee to use this QuickBooks at this time.
I know, but being a QuickBooks user, there will be a time when you
Yeah.
will no longer be able to interface, because
Right.
I've been there.
Sure.
Interface with,
Anything, Unipay,
so Unipay doesn't interface with the QuickBooks. They're after just the dollar value and whatever reporting that we're requiring.
so you're using QuickBooks to track it, and then you're taking
Right,
that.
so it's a
figure and putting
two-part,
it into Unipay.
it's a two-part on our part,
Okay,
and there's no service fee on that. The only thing that we would be looking for a monthly fee would be the Wi-Fi if we want to go that direction. Right now, we're using a data,
Yeah.
which I haven't done the apps and lounges, the data versus Wi-Fi. But the Wi-Fi should be connected with the phone line that's coming in. which is out of service.
So the data's costing us $38 a month.
Yeah,
Unlimited.
so, but what is the difference between the data and a Wi-Fi? Wouldn't
Wi-Fi
we
is
have
much,
internet through the data?
yes, but Wi-Fi is
Slower.
much more reliable and
Okay.
it's much quicker.
Okay,
Yeah, data does have a lag.
okay.
And then you could entertain if we wanted to do a real camera system up there with that in the future when
Okay.
things can allow it.
So it would be increase in operational cost because right now I believe our unlimited data plan is $38 per device with FirstNet.
Mm-hmm.
That would increase probably to a little over $100 a month for a.
Right,
Yeah, it's-
They haven't had no lag.
1,300.
They haven't had no lag with the data.
So the data's working,
The
okay.
data is working okay.
okay.
That's where do we go?
Well,
However, the phone is still out of service. To do that, if you're gonna get them go there to service everything, you may want to entertain the Wi-Fi part.
I
You're paying
think,
for a phone that's not being used right now.
I think just because we're splitting nickels and in some cases we are splitting nickels, I think we have to see how the operational revenue goes. Trends further down the road.
First,
Yeah,
Then
further than
we-
the first 3 months.
Yeah, and then if we look like we're running at a positive and we could absorb some operational costs that will help efficiency, then I think it would be a good idea, but I think it's too early right now, unless we're having operational issues, which it doesn't sound like we are, right?
no.
How is this information that's collected? How does it reach the town account?
Yeah, that actually is another question that I have. So Unipay, I think we're already set up with the account and the reporting and everything is something that we're all used to, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, like it reconciles, the treasurer actually gets all that
Okay,
information, like in he. But like and he basically posts those revenues. That actually come in from the Unipay system, so he posts them and reconciles.
okay, so, but it's transferred from the transfer station
Yep.
electronically to the treasurer. Is that correct?
Through unit.
Through the Unipay system,
Okay.
yes.
The treasurer set up a isolated account just for this, so it doesn't mingle with anyone else.
Because the other point is, we're talking $38 versus $100 a month. You know, we're actually talking an annual increase of just a little over $740. Because the delta is $62 a month. So I mean, it's not 1,300 or 1,200, it's about 740.
I would forewarn you though, don't quote me on the $100, but I know it's.
Well, I know, but
Minimum.
point being, when
Yeah.
we start looking at other systems,
Right.
it's $38 that we're already spending. So it's not, if it's 100, it's not another 100, it's 62.
The other question I have, and I'm certain that you're thinking about this, is with the QuickBooks system, do we still have the ability to quantify the products that are being brought in for disposal? Because that's important for this committee for future analysis of what's going on there.
So we can do it better than Unipay, isolate it, and we can isolate an interest in a quarry, like if you wanted to see electronics, you can do just electronics. He's gonna set up yard waste different after discussing today. If you want to just see yard, because that's a different reporting in February.
Right.
You can have just that, you can separate it, that. Unipay cannot do the free stuff like yard waste. You would have to charge them a fee to get the reporting. Doing it our way, we can report. And we'd like to get it so everyone comes in and actually stops at the guard shack. So we gotta get this smoother. You can waive a recycler or a yard waste person, but we want them to stop so we can quantify for the reporting.
Okay. How soon do you think this will be implemented?
Well, unless there's any naysayers, we're gonna jump on this tomorrow, go more on the QuickBooks part.
I just have one question, but the QuickBooks, do we have anyone's credit card information in the QuickBooks system itself, or is that all through Unipay? Do you know, and the reason I asked that question is because of data security. And yeah, like if we're not working, like based on like an updated.
I got a printout here. I don't see it here, but that doesn't mean it's not, I can look at that device,
I
yeah.
would just have that questions. So we don't have any data security issues with that as well.
Yeah, it's a great point, Michael, and that goes back to my point about using a non-updatable software. So I'm very familiar with QuickBooks. I use it for all businesses. There should be no reason to have credit card information in this system.
Okay.
If they're just using this number based on the person who comes in
Yep.
and then.
Yeah, it's an inventory based.
It's only,
Right,
yeah, that actually answers the question, because this part doesn't, credit card information is not part of the,
Right.
Okay, so in the inventory base then, okay,
we're just using a QuickBooks program for,
volume.
checks and balances of what's coming in.
but you're also using it to total out what the fee is going to be, and then you're manually putting.
Oh,
Correct.
okay, got it.
It's isolated that way.
Okay, thank you.
So this confirmations is just a generated number from Unipay then.
Correct.
Yeah.
Number for the transaction. Okay. That sounds great.
It actually really does something.
And thank you to Jeffrey for his efforts. If you want.
Tom, what happens if the tenant is out sick? Other than one of your gentlemen would have to take over, are they trained on the system?
Not all, not with this new system, not fully, not all of them. There's 3 of them that could jump in, no problem at all.
Right, okay.
There'd be a little bit of training that's needed.
Right. So that's.
Yes, and I made that clear to some of the guys today that he is human.
Yeah. Yes,
We all can't be here,
right,
possibly might not be here tomorrow.
yeah. Okay, and what's the signage like? Is there a stop time, when somebody pulls in, or stop at the shack? Or do they pull in and don't know where to go?
We have a shipping container there to force you to be in, aisle on the way in. We plan on putting another shipping container in, so they'll have an actual alleyway. You can't leave it physically.
Yeah.
And we gotta keep snow removal in mind also.
Right.
But here and now, if the tenant feels it's warranted, he's got a series of cones he could set up.
And is there heat in that shack?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't need a working telephone, because everybody has a cell phone, or do you think that?
That's,
Other than
that needs to be clarified. You're required to have a phone there,
Okay,
and that's part of your third-party inspection.
yeah,
Right now, you get a phone bill to prove it's there. No one's using landlines now.
Right.
So that's just gotta be clarified.
okay,
I don't know what we're paying for the landline.
can't be that much,
Can't be.
40.
Yeah.
Just minimum
Yeah.
fees.
Do you see a need for a different type of telephone service there, like a cell phone? or
No,
anything?
I don't. We gotta look at what's required. I don't,
Okay,
everyone's got a cell phone.
right. Any questions, guys? So what would you need from us today?
I'm sorry.
What do you need from us today?
Well, you get the update on where the QuickBooks are going.
Yep.
So if there's no naysayers, we're gonna tweak it some more and
Okay.
move forward. So reporting for whatever reporting needs to happen this fiscal year could be tricky because we get the old school slips.
Sure.
And we get Unipays and we get a little bit of QuickBooks that's been flirting with Unipay a little bit, and we just gotta, once when it's,
Well, we know someone who's great with slips, so.
yeah. Just be careful what information you ask for, because it might be a little private. This fiscal year.
Right, and then.
And then state and federal requirements are all different calendars, so.
Oh, and then if you spoke of this, I apologize, but you had said something about the bypassing and having more structure there. So they stop at the God Shack. Is there anything you need from us? Should we buy any of those cone poles or barrier poles or anything so they can lay them out?
Not at this time,
No, okay.
no. I mean, if we see where this goes, I mean, it could be a simple, I'd rather see like a simple guide shack. Small ones you see like pocket lots, and have that on the driver's side when they come in.
Mhm.
We can't really physically do that with what we have. I've been watching for that. They got rid of one 4 months ago,
So let me.
but we don't have to buy that right now.
Well, we're gonna talk about some funding that we may have in a little bit. What is it exactly you're looking for? Just explain to me what you're envisioning.
So that the attendant could be out of the weather on the driver's side of the vehicle when they come in.
Oh, on the other side.
But you don't want to run a wire to it. You can't do it underground and overhead's an issue. So if you're dependent on the data or Wi-Fi, it would still work on the driver's side, long as,
And this would be something that would be mobile, that you could wheel over there on transfer station days or something?
or it could just be like you see in a parking lot, those heavy aluminum ones.
I'm just thinking for the surplus auctions, flatbeds come in and stuff, so we want to be careful because they do come in there and use up that whole front section when they load. And what would you do for
Oh,
stacking?
that wouldn't interfere with it.
What would you do for stacking? You still need to create, we don't want people out on Tremont Street. So-
It hasn't been a stacking issue.
No, okay.
Nope.
So are you saying that we should look into some type of a small building that
Nope.
has, no?
I am not saying that. I'm carefully watching right now.
That would also have to have heat. How would we heat that if we can't have wiring to it? Not gonna be lighting fires in
It would have
there.
to be something high because you don't want it, you don't want to interfere with trucking, right? And remember that all that asphalt is actual part of the cap for the Brent landfill that's under it. So that's why you're not digging there.
Okay. I do think it would be much more organized, professional, and attendant friendly, both attendants and the users. If it were on the driver's side and you came in and they were able to collaborate, both within the confines of their vehicles,
Right.
How about getting out to look at what's in the truck though? Sometimes that would still have to happen, right?
All the time.
Okay.
That's why it's not urgent. He needs to be out anyways.
Yeah.
It's where are we going with the device? Are we gonna stay with that device? Right now, they're not walking around with the device as much as I thought they would be.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they,
So they're still going. to
after they
the-
inspect and they go to the shed, finish typing it in. Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll see where this goes.
Would we be able to have people backing in the meantime? Just kidding.
Have people what backing?
Sorry, bad joke.
Only you would think of that.
He's gotta be close to 200 feet from the road. Plenty of room.
And only you would support that.
No, not for his comment. I'm talking about your stacking concerns.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
Let's move on to C, the trash bags update.
yes. So at next Tuesday's meeting, Board of Health meeting, the Board of Health will be voting to place an order for trash bags. We're running low on inventory. We had some quality issues with our current manufacturer. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty certain that we're gonna go with a new bag manufacturer. We've solicited a quote. One company in particular seems to rise to the top, so after the presentation next week, we will have more than likely have a new bag supplier. We also may make some changes to the bag type, the bag color. That'll be all fleshed out next Tuesday.
We're gonna rotate this stock.
From what I'm told, they've been rotating the stock.
Okay.
This was an anomaly.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna make sure that does happen. I'm actually allowing the inventory to get significantly low right now on purpose.
Yeah.
So that we know we have a fresh order that comes in and we'll ensure rotation. But more importantly, if we go with a different color and a different bag type, we won't have the intermix. It'll be,
Right.
smooth transition.
Okay. And what's the update on Hanford?
We have made some progress with Hannaford's, believe it or not. The chairman actually visited the store personally, had a talk with the manager. Was able to contact, well, I will tell you that I did not allow the last order to go out. I held back the order and that seemed to get some people's attention. So right now we have 2 contacts at the corporate level that we're going through with. Unfortunately, their accounting methods, our accounting methods are different. So the office manager has to go through the painstaking process of going invoice by invoice. So it's gonna take some time, but it seems like we have their attention and we will eventually see a check from them. We are gonna make a delivery tomorrow. I'm not sure if you've been made aware of that. A partial order so that Daytonians don't suffer and there aren't bags there, but I wanted to make sure they understood that this isn't business as usual.
Right. How much do they own now?
$56,000.
55, 56. Is everybody aware of that?
I'm not, no,
Haven't paid us in some time for the
No, I
bags
was
that we
not
put
aware of
delivery. You weren't aware?
I was not aware of that. No.
Okay.
Is this going to be a cash delivery? COD?
Unfortunately, they've been bought out by a large corporation overseas and cash is not an option. I will tell you that our new vendor agreement that will coincide with the new bag orders will be completely different than the one we have now. We're gonna have terms that need to be adhered to, and if they don't adhere to terms, they'll be shut off. So, the board has put that on the agenda for next Tuesday as well. Because it's not just Hannaford who's behind on bags, so we need to get a hold of this.
Right.
And Jim, just in terms of the, just in terms of the year-to-date revenues of, for solid waste in terms of bags. And also, and also in terms of the billing fees, also in terms of the billing fees for the transfer station. Yeah, like if you, if you go to the revenue ledger that I provided, you will find that that year to date in transfer station revenues, we have actually taken in $11,355. And then in trash bag revenues, we have taken in almost $75,000. So we do have in that total revenue line, like we do have a total projected revenue of about $290,000. And so the current year-to-date revenue of $88,999 dollars is actually 30 it's 30% of the $290,000, which is trending 5%, which is actually trending 5% above where we should be, and that is actually based on the trash bag. Like that is actually based on the trash bag revenue. If you look at if you look at the billing fee revenue, as I had mentioned, we have actually in the first three, in the first 3 months of the fiscal year, we've collected $11,355 dollars, of which if you annualize that, that actually trends out to $45,420, which is actually about $10,000 less than the FY24 budget was projected on. However, though, if you go over to the expenditure level, if you head over to the expenditure ledger, like we are actually trending under like where we trending under the 25,000. Actually trending under the 25% as well, so it's offsetting each other. Which does speak to the fact that the increases that we made last winter were
Right.
Question. The trash bag figure of 74,000 and change. Is that actually money in the bank? Or does that include the revenue, the monies that are owed, or that's actual money we have in hand?
Like actually in hand revenue that has been, that has been posted and received.
Okay, so in theory, based upon the figure that I heard before, that could increase by almost another 75%.
Actually, I have an answer for you.
Okay,
Most of the monies that are owed by Hannaford's are from prior years. They're fairly current on their billing in the current fiscal year. They're only behind on one or two invoices. Monies that are owed have been owed historically for several years past, which makes this even more disturbing
yes,
and more cumbersome to try to sort out. So what we've asked them to do is stay current on their current invoices, which they've done for the most part. They're taking longer to pay since they've been bought out, which is why there's a little lag in the current invoicing. But the majority of that 50 is from a few years ago.
and then I'm going to make a suggestion. When we reach the end of the fiscal reporting, I think you might have a little asterisk that says,
Yes, agreed.
this is what business did this year.
Yep,
This additional money is from,
yes.
as you stated, so it's crystal clear
Yes,
when we go to do, projections in the future that
agreed.
this is a
We're not.
windfall, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like we're not projecting based on a
Yeah.
higher, an artificially higher one-time. amount.
Exactly,
Yep.
yes.
The other thing that we're doing, if I may, is a lot of corporations now want to pay through electronic transfer. And we're not quite there yet with Dayton. So Mike and I have talked with the treasurer, Reynolds, to try to figure out how we can do this, because then we'll have money almost in real time. So
Could we, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
that's okay. So those discussions have already been had. We're just trying to figure out how to make that happen.
Could we not, and again, I'm not an accountant, could we not set up an account in a bank? And, just say, send it to this, send it to this account.
Right.
And then have the capability to, remove it from the account for town purposes.
Right. And I don't want to get too far into it because we have more to talk about with solid waste when we further get
Okay.
on the agenda. But I think one of the things that we need to think about linearly is there are big questions in solid waste that need to be answered. Those questions may lead us down a path where enterprising comes into play, et cetera. If that happens, we don't want to have all these accounts that we did in the short term. And in the long term, this may be spun off and be enterprised anyway. So we need to have all that in mind when we do this.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any other questions, where you like your thoughts, like on where we are in FY 24 to date, based on this information?
No, the only other thing I'd like to let you know is that we have seen a trend downward in bag sales over the last couple of years since they peaked during the pandemic. So we do have a reduction in bag sales. That doesn't necessarily mean that something's wrong. It just may mean that the consumer is just generating less trash.
Yeah.
Because we did see a peak during the pandemic, because we know everybody was home. So we're trending to be slightly less. So if this year comes in slightly lower again, I wouldn't be alarmed. I think it's just just balancing off since the pandemic.
Well, then the follow on to that would be is we pay less for trash collection in terms of tonnage. So.
Exactly. It's relevant, right?
Is that true?
And we do. Sorry. Can I answer that question first?
Yeah.
So we pay the two parts to our rubbish and recycling contract, solid waste contract. We have a pickup fee, which is static. That's a static number based on the number of stocks they have. And then we pay by the ton for the actual refuse. So to Bob's point, we will see a savings in that line if we do generate less trash. Unless, of course, there's a spike in pricing, which can happen too.
You was trying to say something?
Well, no, not really. It's kind of irrelevant to all the trash that winds up in the street where I live.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
It's not a question. You asked if there was any other comments or questions. I just wanted to point you on your trending, especially for the transfer station.
Yeah,
It's okay to do that, but your volume changes through the fall into the holidays, then it slacks off again. The summer slacks off, picks up again in the spring, then you're gonna see it slack off. So you have 3 or 4 months is not really a good reflection for the year.
no, that makes, thank you.
Yeah,
That's a really good point.
These new trash bags, are they going to cost more?
more than likely, yes.
In what color are you thinking of painting and why?
We have not
Okay.
decided that.
Yeah. Well, we made a cupcake, so.
That's up to the Board of Health.
Okay. No, I'm just curious more than anything.
Yeah, they may say, they may not change. I don't know.
Okay.
That's just, it's always been on the table.
Sure.
Yes. But there will be a price change for the new trash bags. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. I'm not the Board of Health.
Yeah, I know.
That's what's being discussed.
Right, well, pretty informal, yes, so. Any other questions about trash bags? Anything, concerns or anything?
I don't know if this is the right time to bring this up. I know the last time we met, we had a discussion about inspecting garbage. Is that the time to talk about it now or later?
For what we have on here, we can talk about it now. Sure.
I just read the Massachusetts master plan
Yep.
and how the city of Lynn dealt with that. And I had some issues. Is this still on the table for discussion or is it passé now?
No,
You had a discussion with Borges, right?
I had two discussions. I had a discussion with Borges and I've had a discussion with the coalition, which is a grant funded regional effort to assist health departments with any gaps they have in coverage. And I did put that on the table with the inspecting of garbage, and they're looking into the ability to help towns with that if that's something they want to do. But I am more than interested in hearing what you have to say.
Well, my concern was when you put that container out at the side of the street, it's private property until they pick it up. So considering the number of people who go to court and minute things today, somebody could raise an issue that
Yeah,
it's an invasion of my privacy.
that's a great point. No one's going to inspect the trash in your garbage can. That's not how this audit works.
That's the way we talked about it.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was for
That's recycling.
catching people for dirty recycling, right? That's a different type of audit, unless we're talking about different things.
So I'm talking about the business
There's two types.
that we don't use it.
Trying to get people to clean up their recycling. In some communities, they go out and look through the recycling bins, they being an inspector. I would never endorse that here. The second way is that you audit the trash at the facility when it's dumped off the truck. That's the type of audit that I'm interested in if we decide to do it. Is see if we can get a third party to go out to the rubbish collection facility. Our vendor dumps the trash on the ground and then it's looked through both trash and recycling to see how we're doing. I will tell you, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We have been in contact with state representatives. We are doing a great job with our trash on all counts. Our tonnage, the cleanliness of our trash, everybody can improve. But as Mike will explain later on in the agenda, we're doing pretty well.
If you do the suggestion you made about collecting it over there, how can you pinpoint if you have an issue?
I'm sorry.
How can you, if you do the inspection over there, how can you pinpoint if you have an issue?
That type of audit isn't trying to pinpoint a certain individual. It's the town collectively. And then we take that information back and then through public relations, we try to inform the entire town about what we found.
That was going to be my next
We're
question.
not targeting one individual or a few individuals.
So the town would be notified.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a great point. Great, thank you. Max DEP grants update.
Yeah, so Mike, I can start off and you can chip in. So Administrator Mullen and I have been working, as I said, with some state representatives to find alternative funding sources. Something that's not on here is that coalition
What does that mean, alternative financing?
funding sources, grant monies typically. Monies outside of Dayton taxpayers, grant money.
Okay,
Taxpayers are still paying for that, but it's taxpayers, not just in Dayton. Taxpayers around,
that's coming from the state?
yes,
Okay,
yes. So, that said, we've had an open dialogue, with, several people at DEP, and we found out that Dayton is doing very well with its trash collection.
I'm sorry to keep asking these questions, but what does that mean? Who's determining and how are they determining it?
Based on our population, our tonnage is somewhat lower than normal. So what we're doing as a community is being responsible trash producers.
Okay,
Up at the state level, they have a database with every city and town in it. And they can easily figure out what towns this size are generating for trash on an average.
but per tonnage.
Right. We're slightly lower, I don't know the exact, but we're low enough where grant applications that have been submitted, we've been successful, and we have received a $6,000 grant based on a point system that's used in DEP, where we get certain credit points based on benchmarks that we meet. So I'll be first to tell you, I don't know them all verbatim yet. I'm only, a month or two seat time in this, but I can tell you that some of the things are the tonnage. We're slightly lower than normal. Our recycling program is sort of the benchmark program, what we're doing. So the state is looking at Dayton right now as excelling in our solid waste efforts. That's great to hear. We're only going to get better from here now that we've done this reorganization and this committee has been established. So I'm really excited about the future. That said, we received, and I don't have all my acronyms right yet, a $6,000
RDP grant, yeah.
RDP grant, which is based on that point system. I was also made aware by the state of $8,000 in unexpended funds that we received for years prior. It's going back a few years. So this isn't something new. We've been doing good throughout. What I did find out in asking very direct questions is our pay-as-you-throw bag program is one of the reasons for it. They feel that when taxpayers pay for bags, they tend to be very conscious about how much trash they generate, which for us is paying dividends with grant monies, but it also helps make sure that our community is doing the right thing.
Right.
We're not contributing to the problem. It looks like we're playing our part, and in some ways preventing a bigger problem. So I was very excited to hear that. They were extremely helpful, extremely accommodating. Those funds we should receive in 30 days or so. I'm not exactly sure. I know we're doing the paperwork now. Once that money comes in, I was also given some approved expenditures that we can use those fundings for. And I'm going to bring it back to the board. There are some things on there that you would think would not be conventional, but I think would allow us to, from a public relations perspective, show the people that because we are excelling in our solid waste efforts, here's what some of the things that we're doing to try to help. Like, for instance, recyclable park benches made out of recycled materials, bottle filling stations, reusable bottle filling stations so we can get rid of the throwaway bottles, things like that. There are other things on here that I haven't fully vetted yet, but I plan to bring that all to the Board of Health, let them make the decision where we're going to spend the funds, and show the people through some PR and social media that this is what we got back for being responsible Daytonians.
Sure.
So I think it's a great thing. Obviously, now that we've hit that, I want to make sure that going forward, our program makes sure that we continue to get this funding and hit those benchmarks. So that's important now. I don't want to slide and go backwards, right?
And yeah, like, and then like on top of that, we also have, like, we've also been awarded an additional $10,000 for like a mattress collection container that will also be installed at the transfer station. Yeah, like which would actually free up the container that the town has actually been paying for out of its budget.
Right, so that, I haven't inquired on that yet, but I'm going to reach out to a couple of container companies. I would like a question answered, Tom, before I leave here today. We currently have a 40-foot container. Is that the size that we should be looking for?
At least, yes.
Okay. Do you think $10,000 is enough?
I know it's enough. I would go with a 1 or 2 strip ones,
Yeah,
and you can get them any color.
right,
With that said, they're hovered around $5,000 for those nice looking ones like out back here.
that's a 20 though, right?
Correct, but it was painted
Okay,
as one-time use,
okay,
really
So I-
straightforward. So, but we need to take a good look at that. You may want to consider 2
2 40-foot or 2 20-foot?
2 40-foot.
Okay,
Yes.
So about at the $5,000 each.
Yeah, I don't know if you could, well, it might take some negotiating. You don't have a designated spot for your rejected. And there is storage needs, but you can call one for this rejected, and that'll help with some issues on transfer station. And the other one's definitely for the actual mattresses coming in.
okay,
How much is it costing now per month?
$189 a month. We leased it,
One,
40-foot container that we lease.
Where's the rejected go now?
The front of the existing one we have. I pitched it so any water in it would drain out.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, in the next couple of weeks, I'll be flushing out the costs for containers so that we can take advantage of these grant opportunities that we've been afforded.
Great.
And Michael and I applied for a technical assistance grant with DEP, Mass DEP, to further discuss solid waste and the challenges we have in front of us. We've not heard back on that yet. There's a copy of the application in the packet, so we're hoping that we're successful. If we are, we use that to query the people with the data for the entire state as to what cities and towns are doing to try to manage their solid waste programs, which right now Dayton's is siphoning off the Dayton taxpayer. So I would like just for a minute, if I may, when I mentioned enterprise earlier, I mentioned that because right now our solid waste program is not operationally responsible, where the Dayton taxpayers are paying for most of solid waste disposal. The bag sales that are generated, less than 50% of the cost for solid waste, it's probably around 35 or 40%. So we have a long way to go to try and close the gap so that we can make that a self-funded program. But I will tell you that the intent for myself, for the town administrator, the selectmen, and Mass DEP is to try to get that to be a self-funded program.
Do you have any idea how you're gonna get there?
I have a couple of ideas, but I don't want to speculate until we get some more input from people with more experience with it than I do.
Right.
But there are many ways that we can get there. Bag sales alone are not going to close the gap. We just can't sell bags for enough money. And the reason why, and I think it's noteworthy, is that rubbish is about 48% of our solid waste program. Recycling is 52% of our solid waste program. So if 52% of the program we don't need a bag for, and the tonnage cost per ton is much more than rubbish, there's no way we can close the gap by selling trash bags on the rubbish side. So there needs to be some other method to close the loop, whether that's a quarterly bill that goes out to taxpayers or some other means. I don't know the answer to that question, but we have to make this has not been sustainable for a very, very long time.
Well, establishing an enterprise fund is still not gonna make it.
It's not unless we can find a revenue source that fully funds it. Yeah,
When you said send a as an example, send a quarterly bill out to taxpayers, could you expand that a little bit more?
sure. So, and then again, this is just.
No, I understand.
Okay. I'm fairly confident that we can get bag sales to pay for the rubbish side of the contract. I haven't fully vetted it yet. The office manager's been working on a spreadsheet that I haven't been able to fully quantify. However, it looks like in theory, we might be able to get trash bag sales to pay for the rubbish side of things. If that's the case, that only leaves recycling on the table to be paid for, which, as I said, is 52% of the budget. So it's a big number. So if we can get rubbish to be paid for with bag sales, then we need to come up with another funding source to pay for the recycling. And that may be where a quarterly bill would come in for recycling.
That quarterly bill, would it go to every resident or?
Every resident that gets curbside pickup. So it will be a.
And I mean, it's just a matter which pocket do I take it out of?
Right.
You know, my tax pocket, or do I pay for it out of a curbside pocket? But it's still coming out of the taxpayer's pocket.
Well, actually.
Everybody.
Actually, no, because if it's user based and you use curbside pickup, you're getting a bill. If you don't use curbside pickup, you're not getting a bill.
Well, why shouldn't you? If you're,
Exactly. Why should you? So it's more of a user based setup.
Well,
If you're
okay.
Using the service, you're going to pay.
But that was the piece that I was missing. Okay, the user, because, you know, as per all the discussions, I think since we started having our discussions, it's pay as you go, pay as you throw, pay as you
Yes.
generate, not,
Right.
everyone. Okay, that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, so the individual who has a private container or the commercial accounts who don't will not be assessed fee because they're not using the
Right.
service.
Okay,
So it would strictly be a user-based service. Using the service, you pay for it. And again, this has not been flushed out. We're still early on, but this committee will be an integral part of those discussions.
again, one of our basic tenets though was that if you generate, you pay.
Mhm.
And I think we need to adhere to that.
Okay, thank you.
That covers the three grants. Are you going to vote FY 25 budget planning?
The technical assistance grant, which we are, which we are hopeful that, DEP, will come out and work with us and provide us with the technical assistance that we have mentioned that will, help us also, that will also help us plan a solid waste budget. For FY 25 as well, so they have a, like a very real, and had a helpful potential to go hand in hand. Which is helpful, it's beneficial based on all the budget issues we know we have going into FY 25 too.
We had talked about an increase that when that Libby was here last time and she spoke with us, she said Dayton was one of the lower fees on trash bags. Have we thought any more? Well, we
Yeah.
haven't, but going up on that fee?
Yes,
Okay,
we plan to go up on the fee with the rollout of the new bags.
okay.
Yes,
The roll of the bags you're just purchasing.
next Tuesday. Yes,
Okay.
yeah, there'll be about a 4 or 6 week window where we will wait for them to come in.
Yeah,
Between the order that will be placed on Tuesday and the rollout of the new bags, there'll be a new fee that's.
Does that have that one? I like even one of the cupcakes.
We have not, no. If I use the theory that I just mentioned about trying to get rubbish to pay for itself.
Yeah.
Then we will try to figure out whatever that number is.
Yeah.
And see if it's palatable. Certainly, we can't double the price.
No,
But if the increase is palatable to try to get rubbish more towards being paid for by the bags. Both the disposal and the curbside pickup, then that's the route we're gonna go,
and who decided that, BOH?
Board of Health.
Okay,
And then that will also have to be signed off by the BOS as well by statute too.
Okay,
And have to ensure the education component in there too, and to determine, at the board or whatever, how is the public gonna be informed? Because we're not
Right.
rioting in the streets, again, goes back to another basic tenet. We're doing this for these reasons.
just so you understand that I'm leaving no stone unturned. We also are gonna look at our current vendor agreement, as I said earlier. And I don't have any problem with a vendor making money on bags. But right now, I think they're making too much money on bags.
Okay.
So I think if we alter our vendor agreement to be a little more realistic. The revenue that we get will not just be taxpayer based, it will also be vendor based. Now, I understand the end user is the consumer, but right now on our books, we have a current vendor agreement. So if we just change the vendor agreement, we would have an increase in revenue.
What's the number now for the vendor?
They're paying about 60% the face value of a bag. Which I think is much too low.
Yeah.
There are some communities who do a pass through on the bags. The vendor pays what the face value of the bags are. And this is just used as a way to get people into your store.
Well, no, the reason I ask is because way back when, the vendors were getting about 4 cents a bag.
Right.
That was their take.
They pay a very significantly lower rate than what they should be paying right now. So, and it doesn't seem to be consistent with the vendor either, which is another problem that I found.
Oh,
Yeah, I noticed that too.
up by town
Sorry?
and. Oh, like it varies by vendor, but in terms of the bigger, but in terms of the bigger vendors who might actually have arrangements with other towns, does it vary there as well? Do we know?
I don't know, because I don't have access to their contracts. Yeah, I can tell you, talking with some of the larger bag suppliers. We're very generous here. We should be charging our vendors more for our bags. So
And when will that happen?
with the new bags, this will be flushed out in the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay,
Our current vendor agreement is typeset, meaning it was done on a typewriter.
Maybe that was just the font.
For the whiteout gave it away.
So before you move on from the bags, I don't think I'll be at that meeting, but one other point you may want to bring to the Board of Health, considering the bag increase, is now is definitely the time you wanted to stay away from the renegotiating of the contract for the disposal of the trash. Because when that news hits, if there's a change, a significant change, that's, bad PR too. So if the bags alone are considered as a price increase, and it's not always getting hit in the head with, a double whammy.
Right.
We have another year and 3 months on our current contract,
And
so that.
you just said it'd be 6 weeks out before the bags come in, and then, before the actual, it's gonna take some time.
I want to understand what you're saying. You're talking about our Porges contract?
Yes,
Okay, we have another 15 months of that contract. We won't start negotiating that for another year.
that point is to stay away from,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. We hope Porges stays with us,
Yeah, no, that's the other thing, like if we have to go elsewhere, the cost of that alone. And having this whole structure in our operational budget, we have a deal with Borges that. That we would be, it would be impossible. For the town, if we had any other vendor providing our trash. A pickup to have to have our trash program funded the way it is now. And in terms of having. Oh, in terms of having any other vendor, because we have such a deal with Borges. Yeah, if we had, and I would venture to say if we had another vendor, the prices that that we have to pay would probably increase by 30%.
As a side note, we voted last night at the selectmen's meeting to give with free cash a $25,000 rebate to taxpayers, which isn't a lot when it averages about $50 per taxpayer per quarter, correct?
Yeah,
A year, which I hate to just rip it out by adding something else to it. So if whatever impact that we're gonna have, it'd be nice to let them enjoy it for a little while.
Let's stay away from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I certainly don't want to be known as, the individual came into the health department and then turned it upside down. But the reality is that it's not been sustainable. And the
Right.
taxpayers, all taxpayers have been subsidizing the cost of solid waste for the last 15 years.
Sure.
That's just not something that
Right.
we can continue to do.
Why? Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because when you get to a point where we are now, I think a more responsible way to do it is make the person who's generating the trash and who needs the service, pay for that service. Why should a retired person who's at home, not generating much trash at all, pay the same exact as a person next door to them who creates 15 bags of trash a week?
Well, the obvious answer to that is because we charge the expense over a broader base.
Okay. That's a good point, but okay, I'm a taxpayer, I'm a commercial taxpayer. I have nothing to do with the solid waste program. I have zero benefits from it. Yet I'm contributing to it in a much bigger way than someone else because of the appraisal of my building. So why should I pay that kind of money?
It's politically philosophical, so,
Not really.
well, when you have different opinions, like you and I have a different opinion on this, then I don't think we're gonna solve it.
Right. Well, I can say that, the way I run my department to date is that whomever needs the service from my department pays for it. And I've had great success, both in a reciprocal way of respect and responsibility in doing that. And my office has run in the green ever since I established that type of setup. So to me, it's very simple from that perspective. But I'm not the one making the decisions. It's got to go through a series of processes to get there.
Yeah, I think, we talk about a public service. I think there are varying degrees of public service. For instance, everybody across the board pays for police. As opposed to when the police show up at your house, you have to pay them, write them a check, or fire, or highway department, et cetera. I think that's a municipal service that everybody pays for. But in terms of, and I agree with Mr. Aguirre, if you're going to throw away 100 pounds a week, and somebody else is only going to throw away 10 pounds a week, you should pay as you throw. And I don't think we should work towards not having a level playing field in terms of paying for something that differs from person to person. I think you should pay as you throw, just like, I'd like to have everybody across the town pay for me to shingle my roof, but that's not going to happen because I'm shingling the roof.
That's not the same.
Well, I think it is. I think it is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's, if you throw away twice as much as I do, where we are right now, you should pay twice as much as I do.
Well, I'm talking about shingling your roof.
Well, that was a poor example. Okay, poor example.
Well, no, the permit and the service to inspect that roof to make sure it's done properly and your contractor is licensed and insured and has the proper qualifications is a service that you get from municipality. You need to pay for that. Because if you're doing your roof and Mr. Neely's not, then you need to pay for that.
That was poor analogy. Okay, but back to trash. Again, somebody throws away 100 pounds and I throw away 10. I don't think I should subsidize that because that's a choice that that person has made to throw away 100 pounds based upon whatever they've done. And I shouldn't be subsidizing. I think should work towards pay as you throw, pay as you generate.
It's the same thing, it's the same thing we have with the transfer station. It's not a service that goes out to everyone. You pay as you throw things away. And I agree, if somebody's generating a lot of trash, they should pay for that. It can't all be a free service to those who use it and those who choose to conserve.
Right, I don't think it ever paid for it. When the program started, it was very, much closer though.
Yeah.
And I believe the town as a whole definitely pays for the contract for this.
Right.
But that part should be covered.
No, it's not.
No, that's where it should be going though, and I think that's where it was. I don't think the town ever covered, I don't think the bags ever covered the trash. The whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Trash bags collection revenue ever covered the cost of
I don't think it ever did.
throwing away
The
the.
gap is being in wider because they never made slight increases on the bags. Should have been,
Yeah, no, and I agree with that.
and it was
And
politically
at the, and at the
unpopular to
same,
do that.
and at the same time, the cost for the the other side of the program in terms of recyclables. And has also increased drastically too.
In the last 5 years, correct. That climate has definitely changed.
Yes.
So based on your projected revenue stream here,
Yep.
which includes transfer station,
Yeah, but 290,
just south of
300, yes.
Our Borges contract for curbside collection alone is $440,000. That doesn't include disposal. That's just for the truck to ride around town and pick everybody's trash up. So we're not covering the costs. And that includes transfer station, which, as we all agreed, and we worked so hard to do, is try to get transfer station to pay for transfer station.
Right.
So if you pull that out, we're at a huge deficit.
Right.
Huge deficit.
So yeah, like, and again. That is all, like, and this is all why we thought having DEP. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, join us and provide. Oh, yeah. And kind of broad-based information about how we stack up. And I mean, it just has, and it has an opportunity to better inform how we actually approach this whole thing.
You know, again, from a practical perspective, I think there's a break point too with people, as we've had discussion on other issues. There's a break point where people will say, I'd just as soon throw it down on Maple Street or Tremont or whatever. And you know, we may never hit fully funded. We can certainly move in that direction. There may have to be, we may discover there may have to be a public funding component.
Yeah,
But the objective to make it zero, and if we can't, then minimize it. Okay.
So that is FY25 planning.
I know you have this, one of the things that this board should be, have a say in is the prices of that, not just the Board of Health.
right.
I know it's gonna go to the selectmen, and we can certainly change it there.
Yeah, no, and if I misspoke, this committee will be an equal part of all that.
Okay.
The first thing I need to do is get bags ordered,
Yeah,
because I'm sort of a guy with rates.
yeah,
And then once that happens, and I know we have a vendor, now I know where my costs are,
sure,
then yeah, the next meeting we have, we'll discuss that.
okay,
My hope is to do it in one meeting here and then bring it to the BOH, bring it to the BOS, so we can roll it out.
because that will be a big part of what we do for.
Right.
Budgeting for next year,
Exactly.
which we'd like to have certainly. Everybody should be working on it now, and we just started, but certainly by the end of the year. Calendar year, what that budget's gonna be.
So. Yeah, so just from a timeline perspective, if the bags take 4 to 6 weeks to come in. Mike, you have more access to the BOS meeting schedule. We meet the third Tuesday, is that what we do?
Yeah,
So you. Okay, then if you meet November 12th, then right? Is that the date?
Yes.
Then we, then the BOS would meet the night after, but. That is, I mean. That is potentially a back-to-back thing without, like, actually having an opportunity to get information out.
Right.
So. But if the,
The bags wouldn't be in though until the following week at best.
But you'll know the cost before that.
I'll know the cost Tuesday.
okay,
Yeah.
Okay.
so,
So we can get the cost straightened out before the bags.
Right.
Yeah.
And what the
Right.
increase is going to be.
So if that's the case, Mike, then solid waste has to meet the first full week in November. To talk about this.
I think,
Well, that moves us to
A
the
little-
next scheduled meeting.
Right, which
As
is
far as the next.
a week earlier than 1 month from now, right? Would that be?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, would you entertain that?
Sure.
so that would bring us, if we stick to the Thursday, November 9th at. 4:30. Like, if that works for everybody?
Of course.
That work for you, Tom?
You never put power on it.
Or
Oh, I'm sorry, I lost track of time. Sorry,
Mr. Neely, that okay with you?
absolutely.
okay.
sure, it's okay with me.
Well, you put it in the calendar, so I presumed it was.
Thanks.
He's gonna have to bring coffee next time.
Yeah,
We talked about pizza one time.
oh, I like pizza. I like pizza.
Want to do it for the next meeting? I'll get it.
Pizza and cupcakes.
Pizza and coffee.
One.
What kind of cupcakes?
Both of it.
Like turkey shaped.
Yeah. In seriousness, I'll get the pizza, just cheese, fine with everybody?
Yeah, that's
So that's item number 5, 6 in public input, and I see there's so many people on here.
I just have one thing on the public input.
Yes, sir.
The health agent was a member of this committee
Yes.
previously. Do we need to do anything? for-
Has the health agent been sworn in yet? Because the health agent position was appointed to the board. So as long as you have been sworn in by the town clerk to be on this board,
Okay,
you will be fine, Heather.
so we'll check with Shara next week. Thank you.
Approval of the minutes.
She becomes the next member of this committee.
She is filling an open position by the previous health agent who vacated.
Gotcha.
Yes. But contingent on cupcakes, brownies.
I knew that was good.
Kind of obvious in my thinking,
But where to get that?
to my hat and belly.
Yeah,
Peter,
there's no shame about it. Yes, sir.
before we get out of here, I need some of you people to clear something up for me.
Sure.
I'm not exactly clear. After all the research and reading I've been doing, but what are we trying to do with plastic? Are we trying to get rid of plastic? I don't understand, you had steel and now you can melt it down and reuse it. I don't find in my research anything about how to recycle plastic. And yet we can't get away from plastic. It's in cars, it's everywhere.
So I get monthly magazines and that, the problem right now is we have mountains of plastic not moving. A lot of it is just contaminated. It historically went to China, but they shut us off,
Right, because it was dirty.
so they claim. Right.
Well,
So there's some innovative and thoughtful ideas, articles if you want to read up on them. But that affects on a cradle to grave part. Right now, our vendor takes it to his vendors and they're just piling it up right now. It has no end use at this time.
why hasn't the industry been able to develop some method of recycle?
We just do it all the time.
That's to be determined.
I mean,
You could be making a lot of money if you can nail it.
One sec.
I don't have the knowledge to do something like that.
You know, over in Europe, plastic park benches, you see some plastic fences. They've pretty well nailed it down for years. You know, they have got in and people have bought into plastic this, plastic that.
But then my question to you is, why haven't we, if they had?
But
That one,
we're starting to see more and more lumber, plastic board lumber. Other recyclable items like the furniture and stuff, but the furniture doesn't move that much. The lumber probably does move the quickest. It's still oxidizing, they still have some tweaking to do with the,
To be turned into lumber, is that what you're telling me?
depending, well, white plastic cap is going to prosthetics. The clear plastic does something else.
Okay,
yeah, there's many of the countries over there, and I saw it firsthand. There's a society have bought into that. I think the problem is, I think we can do that, but we need to buy into it as a society.
exactly. Exactly. Well, thank you.
You know,
We have approval of the minutes next, and there's a lot of minutes so we're not gonna go to each one and, we're just gonna read the dates if that's acceptable to everybody, for the minutes.
So we do have April 3rd. We have the 13th of March. We have January 30th. We have November 28th and October 19th, 2022.
So we need a motion on the floor to approve as read.
Could I just ask a question?
Yes, sir.
The first meeting I attended was May 22nd. Is that on your list? Is that on your list?
Yeah, like we don't have those fully drafted yet.
Okay,
So those will be presented to the group on the 9th.
so Peter, I will abstain from all those other votes since I wasn't on the committee.
Okay, thank you.
You know why those aren't done? You spoke too much.
I would move to accept,
Nice to have friends.
as read.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Or any
Aye.
discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Just make sure they get recorded as abstain.
Yep.
Yeah. And anything else anybody wants to do?
no, thank you, everyone.
Maybe because we have some key people here. So I know we're away from the contract, the Gorgeous, and also CMAS itself.
Spending the same time.
I just said a little note, and you could probably, it would be healthy to have an offline conversation with Peter. Make sure your next contract has a plan B when that is shut down for either repairs or indefinitely. Right now, I think they have a contingency where they're responsible to truck it somewhere else. You want to make sure something like that is there.
And
Excuse me, are we talking about Forges?
No,
Oh,
the end use of our trash, but if the place where it's incinerated is down, it could hurt us if we don't have something.
And
okay.
if that were to happen, those are the type of things that we haven't really under the structure we have now, we don't have any ability to afford that, like not to be the dead horse,
No,
but yes.
you will be at the mercy of whoever.
The problem is we don't have the money.
I agree, that is my,
That's the,
yeah.
But you have the power of the pen to make sure it's in the contract.
Right.
right.
So anyway, so we can talk about that all evening, but yeah, like, I mean, that's why we're here, because this.
Now is not the time, but I just want to make sure it's,
No,
I'm not where all you guys are, so
thank you.
Yes, spot on, Tom. Thank you.
make a motion adjourn.
Your second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
I want to see you for a second.
5:27.
25 minutes.